Hey guys, Zube here again. This was actually a video request by my mother. A friend was trying to set up an appointment with her for selling Cutco. I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with that. But anyway, this is kind of my experience and opinions, at least a short version, hopefully, with Cutco. I have here, let me see if I can actually point it so you can see. Their Homemaker Plus 8, basically, main set there. Unfortunately, I did not bring my catalog with me. I'm not sure why not. I just totally forgot. But anyway, overall, I've actually been very happy with the ones that I've used. That set is not mine. It's my mother-in-law's actually. But in using them, been very happy with them.
You're done? It was close.
As far as the entire set, I'm not a big fan of huge kitchen sets because I find that people tend to use about 3 knives. Now, where is it? Hang on. Primarily, the one we use here is this one, which is the Petite Carver. This, I think, is pretty much the only knife my mother-in-law ends up using out of all those. Which means, although the set is heavily discounted, it would have been probably cheaper just to pick up the one. They do tend to be really expensive. I think in the price range you can get better materials, but one of the advantages of Cutco, one is that they're 100% American made. It's nice to support American stuff, but also you don't even need proof of purchase to get it repaired or replaced if it ever fails on you. You can just send in the actual product as is and they'll send you a new one. Or if you've done something that constitutes misuse, which actually they're pretty lenient on what that is, but if you misuse it, then they'll charge you half price, I believe. Anyway, couple of things. They have some odd tools that I actually really love. Here we go. This thing. Probably my favorite Cutco. Although I don't know what it costs or that I would pay the same thing for it. It's like a spreader for mayonnaise and peanut butter and whatever else. But also, as you can see, has an edge there, and that is a sharp edge. This is Cutco's Double D edge, which they say isn't serrated. It actually does behave differently than most serrated edges, but so yeah, but I mean, I'll let them go on that claim. Overall, I really like them. There's some other things they do, like here's a paring knife, full size handle, small blade, excellent. Except that I don't know that I would pay what they charge for it. I think Cutco knives tend to run $100 to $150 a piece or something like that. They're heavily discounted for a set. Anyway, here's some traditional concerns. This is traditional serrations. This is just a knife I grabbed out of the drawer. This will, be, even for me, almost impossible to sharpen because of the little teeny teeth there. These runs of here. There you go. Runs of small teeth. But on Cutco's, because they have, because they have that wide serration pattern, even though it's the double D edge, they actually are much easier to sharpen, and they do stay sharp a long time. They talk about the points protecting the 3 distinct cutting edges. All that does seem to be true. Although I did have to sharpen the Petite Carver because we used it so much. On the other hand, you know, my sharp maker made short work of it. Here is a Mora. Some of you knife people will recognize. This is a Mora Classic number 3, 6-inch version. Here's some of the issues that they discuss. This is carbon steel. It will stay sharp and it will rust. They bring that up. True, I use this in my kitchen. I think Cutco tends to outperform it. On the other hand, $20 knife. And there's stuff about wooden handles. I haven't checked into all that. But anyway, if my choice were to pay Cutco prices for a Cutco set of knives, even a big set, or have a set of these, I would probably try to go for Cutco. Ta-da! Yeah, even the ones like this that I won't use on an everyday basis. But if I had to go, you know, between Cutco and if I had to just pick a set, it wouldn't probably be Cutco. I'd probably go with like Benchmade or something that does just the 3-knife sets, because, like, you know, most people, that's all they use. I did hear, even from people who hate Cutco, though, that their super shears are fantastic and worth the list price. Here's a big advantage. Way easier to clean. I don't know how that edge is to sharpen. I don't know if you can see this. You definitely can't see it when I don't bring it in properly. There you go. I don't know how that would be to sharpen. But, and Mom, Phil has the sharp maker. He would be able to sharpen all these. As a matter of fact, Cutco has a sharpening system that is based off the sharp maker, so it'll work well. Forks, Eli will probably tell you, but I'm not sure I really would ever see this being used for anything. I don't think I've seen it being used in the kitchen, but I don't know, maybe. You know, that's your call. So there's a bunch of those tools, maybe not. But one thing to think about is, even though it's way cheaper per knife to buy a big set, if you were to just pick the ones you need, you know, okay, so you probably need that one. You might want that one, maybe. Honestly, I think in my mom's case, you've got some decent knives as it is, or some acceptable paring knives, maybe not. And like this one is a utility knife. That's the only thing we use. You know, to put together a set like that, you can pick up. Basically, you can pick 4 and get the cheapest one free. If you want to do something like that, you know, that would make sense. I think they're good. Like Noah and Dossie's knife. Talking directly to my mom there. Most of you guys don't know. Noah's my younger brother. Dossie's his wife. I got them a Shun Premier chef knife as a wedding gift, and that thing will both stay sharp equal to this one, which Cutco won't. They actually, their blades are 440A. For 440A, they do a really good job. It's a steel used a lot in dive knives, so you could leave it in the sink for long periods of time without getting any sort of rusting, which is actually more even than you can say for this. I don't know if you can see that, but there's actually a little bit of rust on this. I don't know what it is. I would have guessed 420J2, but now I'm starting to lean towards something Chinese, because a lot of the Chinese steels are stain resistant instead of basically, well, yeah, they're semi-stainless. Although this might be stainless, it's kind of old. But yeah, as I think if you don't lose it, Cutco is a decent investment. Let's talk a little bit about the table knife, which they'll freak out about. Honestly, I wouldn't invest in these, but if you get them for free, which you do with a lot of the sets, you know, that's cool. But I found that they're halfway between a steak knife and a butter knife, and they're not quite as good as either. Although, better to have a sharp Cutco table knife than a serrated steak knife that is almost certain to be dull because it can't be resharpened. So anyway, that's my take on those. I think the Double D Edge as nice as it is for cutting steak, is really lousy for gathering like mayonnaise and stuff. As you go to scrape the jar, right, if my hand were the edge of the jar, as I go to scrape it across, there's a space created by those teeth. Those same teeth that protect the edge are creating space and making it difficult to pick things up off the side of the jar. So not a huge fan of these. They have steak knives that look like they would work a lot better as, steak knives. Uh, I mean, these work decently as steak knives. I would prefer a traditional steak knife just because I'm used to it. These handles will probably be really comfortable in use, would be my guess. They're a little less, they took a little bit of getting used to for me because they're not designed for somebody who worked in a warehouse all the time and developed their cutting technique on boxes and things of that nature. They're designed for somebody who's just been cooking all their life and isn't a professional chef. So I think they did a good job with that. And they will sharpen them for free indefinitely. The sharpener that comes with it, if you do get a big enough set to get the free sharpener, it's worthwhile. Big thing is not to use, the what do you use for your cutting boards? No metal, no stone, basically, no glass. That's going to make a big difference for any knife, but even so for the Cutco, I would say, although the double D edge does work well as a straight edge, I wouldn't get everything in double D. For instance, the paring knife is straight edged here. I think that was a good decision because in peeling fruit, you're not going to want that uneven edge, regardless of whether it works as a straight edge in slicing. Also, chef knife. Very good choice in straight edge rather than double D, and the reason for that is as you're doing the whole chopping, I can't do the motion while it's not actually on a flat surface, but as you slide a carrot through or something and chop, you're gonna find it's probably hard to do with that double D edge, but overall it will stay sharp a long time. And you do have the option of sending it back to them and sharpening it indefinitely. You can also send it back to them and get a brand new one after who knows how many years. So it is a worthwhile investment. Do know that they will have your information, and they will periodically try and come back to you and get you to buy more stuff. But whatever, I think it's a worthwhile investment. That is one you can just pass on forever, as long as Cutco is still in business anyway. But anyway, that said, I think I prefer the knife that Noah and Dossie have for the price tag. However, the warranty on it's not going to be quite as good, and I don't think I think it's quite an investment, but it's one you should have forever. So I think it's decent. The fact that yes, you can get one that stays sharp a little bit longer. Not a huge deal in the kitchen, or at least I haven't found it to be, and especially because people who can sharpen it, and also Cutco will just redo it for you, and having someone else sharpen it will not void the warranty. So, anyway, that's it. Hope that helped. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.